And we are live. Good morning, LinkedIn. Another great Tuesday. So I hope you have your cup of coffee. I'm Rachel with Smart Impressions today from the Biz Advisors, and I have a great conversation that we are going to get into today with this very special guest of mine, a friend of mine. I'm going to say a friend, an old friend of mine, Jonathan Steingiesser. Thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan. Thanks for
Good
being here.
morning. Thanks for having me, Rachel.
Cool. So Jonathan's doing something incredible. And so this show is all about telling people how they can actually connect more, make human connections, and make the best ways of building a community. And you're doing that as you're the founder of the Human Centered Design UAE. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so when I came to the region about 11 years ago, I used to be a serial, collaborator, networker at Meetup, which is everyone can find on meetup.com. It's a startup that started quite a while ago, and I used to go to regular events in Australia, and I came and looked for similar kind of events around design, product, startup, and there wasn't a lot happening. So I thought, why not start something on my own? I managed to convince my boss at the time, I was working at NYU Abu Dhabi, and a colleague to come. And that was the first meetup back in May 2013. And we just celebrated a little while ago our 10-year anniversary, and it's very exciting. We've got lots of events happening, and would love to see your audience who's here in the UAE to attend our next event.
Cool. Well, I want to first say hello to Nella. She's in the room today. So welcome. Good morning. And I do invite our listeners and our community to jump into conversation with Jonathan, because this is a great opportunity to get some questions out and really understand a little bit more what he's doing in the region. First of all, congratulations. 10 years, a good amount of time, right?
Thank you.
And so, I know your expertise is human design, and a lot of people that are listening, we got a lot of salespeople, a lot of general managers, a lot ahead of their businesses sitting here and listening, and you hear human design, but maybe it's still like fresh and new. Maybe you can go into a little bit more of what that actually means for businesses.
Sure. So design thinking, or human-centered design, it's an iterative process that starts with seeking to understand who your customers are, and then redefining maybe some of your assumptions, challenging some of those assumptions, creating lots of ideas, innovative solutions, testing them with your customers, and then creating tailor-made solutions to suit their needs. And I'll break that down a little bit in terms of the process. It starts, as I said, with empathy. And I think that's the trap a lot of businesses make, is they fall into the assumption of, no, I know who my customer is. I've been in business for a long time. I don't really need to test. I already know everything. I'm an expert. And that's where sometimes we run into problems, right? Into challenges. And it's not about pitching to them, but really empathizing and understanding what are their challenges. Are we meeting their needs or not? And what can we do to alleviate some of that pain? Defining some small, what's called a minimum viable product, or your first iteration, and then creating lots of ideas, not just one, testing those ideas with them. So before you launch your new service or your new product, and then once you've done that testing, you narrow down on what the right solution is, and then releasing that solution. But again, not settling for, okay, I've done it and it's done. It's something that we continuously do. So it's definitely something that I teach and I'm very passionate about, as you can hear, and something that anyone can do. I don't think you have to do, a huge amount of study. It's the best way to learn is by doing.
No doubt. But I think empathy is, one thing that I want to play on, because Smart Impressions is all about 7 seconds that people take to really, have an impression of you, your business, what your offering is, and how to continuously go about rediscovering this and evolving this, because it does change, right? You have different customers, they have different needs, and that's human-centric development is really where you're focusing, right, for businesses.
100%. It's not just about the one customer, right? We've got different customers. Some of them are influencers, some of them are buyers. And we need to understand all of those journeys and map that customer journey from end to end, and then see where they intersect. So to understand what that sweet spot looks like, so we can, with our idea, with our solutions, we can again meet the challenge and meet the needs of our customers, right? And
Yeah,
not about doing everything for everyone, but very much understanding what that minimum viable product, as I was saying, is, what that scope is to solve their problem.
okay. And so, there's a lot of people and a lot of businesses that might be listening that may be overthinking this, thinking, oh, we got customers, and I think it's very easy. It's kind of like marketing. Marketing is that one department that basically you have to spend, right? So this design thinking is expensive for businesses. And if they're not really engaging with this even thought process, what are they looking to lose?
100%. I think it's a trap I often see people fall into, and it very much. I do some coaching as well. It's something I wanted to share with you, and something I talk about to the folks that I coach. I think we fall into another trap of trying to solve everything all at once. And some of the design thinking process, for example, could be about, I've got a big idea and I'm seeing how others are doing something similar. I want to execute and bring that to the market. So instead of taking a long time before you learn from the market, from your audience, what you're much better off is trying to do a small experiment. So creating something around that idea that's a lot more manageable, let's say, in terms of the technology needed to bring it to life. And then taking some of your customers and saying to them, hey, this is just our draft, our beta version, let's call it. And we want to get some feedback from you. And then based on that feedback, changing your idea before doing a big bang launch, right? It's something that any of us can do. It's not expensive. It's not difficult. And you don't need to develop the idea up to the very nth degree. You can just have, the start of it, and it's okay to throw it in the bin. That's another mistake people make, right? It's insisting on, no, this is the right idea. If you get feedback from the market and they're saying, no, this doesn't resonate with us, it's okay to pivot and to look for something else, right? That's a great solution. Otherwise, you're pushing something to people that they don't really want or need.
Yeah, which was never going to end well, right? And I can't tell you how important it is for businesses to sustain growth and, and scalability by just giving the customers what they want, right? And this is a big part of this. And so this is, I think, the human-centric kind of key is understanding this. And I love what you said is that you can do it for nothing. You just need to communicate. Right. So what kind of questions would you even communicate to the customers that are purchasing from you? Because ideally, those would be customers that have trust. They understand your product. They have trust with your personnel, and they can trust you to kind of go through this journey with you to explore and understand what they need a little bit more. Right.
Yeah, 100%. So it's really about understanding the current state. And again, it's I keep talking about the traps, but I've seen a lot of mistakes people make, which is when we go to speak to them, it's really seeking that confirmation bias to say, we're amazing. I'm amazing. My product's amazing. My service is amazing. Don't you think so? Of course, if you corner someone and they're your customers are going to say, yeah, you're great, but you're not going to learn very much. So it's about putting your researcher hat on and really seeking to understand, how are you solving the problem today? What are the core, what's called the job to be done, or the core tasks that they're trying to complete with your service, your product, and asking them, how do you go about doing that? And just observing what they do. Instead of telling them what the answer is, observing where they struggle, or asking them, what do you like about our service? What do you dislike? What would you change? And it's not about creating a wish list. It's about understanding where the patterns are, where the pain is. It's still your job to analyze and to innovate and to create solutions that they didn't necessarily ask for, right? But very much we need to understand their current pain in their world, and even seek to understand, do they solve it in other ways? Do they use it?
Cool. Well, guess what? We got your first question today. So thank you so much for joining and jumping on, Mr. Ajami. He says, Jonathan, how do you convince established companies to really invest in this empathy conversation, especially since it seems to be like a long process? So having empathy, I don't think ever is a long process. If someone is crying, you ask them what's wrong. That's a form of empathy, right? So is it really that big of a challenge for businesses to really invest in that empathy conversation?
It definitely is. And Leopold, thank you for your question and for dialing in. It's very much a challenge, especially in the Middle East and in other emerging markets, where the speed of delivery is seen as success, output over outcome. Success is measured by, did we deliver the thing, not did we create value. And one method that's very much, you know, has worked for me in the past is talking about dollars and cents, the language of our senior stakeholders, the languages of business. By showing ideas that were pursued and didn't resonate with customers and the expense of that, by saying, look, this cost us X amount of time with development, with marketing, with sales, and this idea had to be radically changed. That entire, the opportunity cost is one thing, but also the cost of delivering the wrong solution is one of the methods that's used. I mean, and one other idea which has worked for me again in the past is just to do it, right? To do something small and not take a huge amount of time. To do something small and quick and say, look, I've done this really quickly. Here's some feedback. Can I have your, can we pursue this particular idea based on some feedback? So to bring the customer voice into the conversation. Sometimes we need to ask for forgiveness, not for permission, right? But we need to know the businesses that we're in and what's the right thing to do at the right time.
I love that. Sometimes we have to ask for forgiveness, right? Not permission. That's interesting. I think that only works on certain situations, but I definitely, I definitely love that. Okay, so conversation today was all about design thinking for global collaboration. You're based in Dubai. I'm in Dubai. We are the center of the world. There's no doubt that there's been a massive shift on where exactly these centers are, and Dubai is one of those places. We get the whole world sitting here outside of our windows, and so this global collaboration concept. I was just at an event, trade show recently, and everyone's coming here from all over the place to try to get into the emerging markets. So how do you advise businesses that are looking to facilitate some kind of collaboration, getting into new markets, and how to facilitate this kind of design thinking among those steps?
I think one great piece of advice from my experience here, I've worked in a few different startups as well as larger organizations, is very much around localization. I think the trap that a lot of the players coming in from outside of the region fall into is just assuming that the vanilla flavor of whatever they've created will resonate with customers. And one thing we have, as you said, in Dubai, we have folks from all over the world. So to do the kind of testing I'm talking about is easy. You can find a community from any part of the world, and that can be like your experiment before targeting that particular market. But also, if your target is very much local or it could be regional, then it's about going there and building that empathy, what's called ethnography, so understanding people in their environment. And I've had the fortune of doing that in the past. So I've been to Riyadh, to Saudi, and spoken to actual customers and tested some of our prototypes with some of the design teams I used to manage, as well as in Egypt as well. And those are very different markets. So I think assuming that, one size fits all is just wrong. And design thinking helps you to understand what is that sweet spot. Again, we can't necessarily create a whole bespoke solution for every single market, but we need to understand some of the nuances. And even if it's on a small feature level, if it does resonate with that customer, that's going to be a huge impression. And that could be the, low-hanging fruit that sets you up for success.
Yeah, and I think that collaboration, right? I mean, by finding partners in local markets, it could speed up that process of knowledge so that you can get those touch points and the nuances that do exist in that market so that you could effectively really go in, and be more effective by understanding and discovery, phase.
For sure, yeah. And another point just on that global collaboration, we do have teams from all over the world. And one point I wanted to make is that design thinking, human-centered design is very much a team sport. It's not something you do on your own. So you need to have the folks around you from, engineering, design, product, marketing, sales, etc. And by having all those different viewpoints and the with folks from different parts of the world, that's where we get that shared reality. So we've got like lots of torches aiming at the center, and in that center and our diversity and collaboration, by focusing and anchoring to the customer, is where we can have a shared reality of what's going to resonate in their world.
Amazing. Well, guess what? We just hit that 15-minute mark. It goes by so fast, but we're going to roll over because we still have value to provide to our listeners today. And I want to just reiterate that we're here just sharing tips that you can implement as soon as you finish this LinkedIn Live, and you can actually start to uncover stuff around the design thinking. So when it comes to tips, what do you got, Jonathan, for our listeners today? You got 3 tips that they can go back to implement design thinking in their own business?
Yeah, so the first one, as we've been talking about, is spending time actively listening, like truly listen. The more you talk, the less they talk. So if you're a talker like myself, then put your researcher hat on, as I said, and really actively listen to your customers and understand, their service or product. Number 2 is don't just settle for the happy path. Don't just design, develop, create the first idea that comes to mind. Create lots of ideas and experiment to find the right one, and maybe create a hybrid out of a few ideas. And number 3, it's continually discover. This isn't something that you do and then you set and forget and say, I've done it. It's something that you need to repeat. And even if if you are a small business, then you say, fine, once a month, or once every 2 weeks, whatever it is, once a month I will talk to my customers and I will listen to them, and I will take that feedback to, affect my roadmaps. It won't just be on my ideas or the technology or all of our opinions, which, as you know, there's never a short supply, right, in any business. But it's about bringing in that voice of the customer to your business.
So amazing. That was it. I love it. I love it. So I really appreciate those 3 tips. I hope you wrote it down. We're going to have this available for the rest of your life on social media, which is exciting because you can't get rid of us now. You've seen it. Share it with your friends. I do want to recognize that Jonathan has a great event coming up in just a couple days on November 21st. Tell us more about this lean product discovery.
Yeah, if anyone wants to learn more about this, I'm running a 3-hour workshop at a very nice place called Atelier at Emirates Towers. And I will teach you the process of lean product discovery, how to identify, who to talk to, as you've said, Rachel, what questions to ask. And then in the workshop, you will actually practice and ask some of those questions to another participant. It's like a mock run, if you will. And you'll walk away with a clear understanding of how to go about doing this, how to test in a, methodological, that's the right way of saying it, process, a scientific process, and get that feedback. So it's not just about having a coffee, right, with a customer, but it's about creating a plan, and we'll create a plan, and then coming up with a guide for the interview, and then analyzing the results. And we'll talk about how many people to speak to, etc. So that's on the 21st of November, and we will share the link with you.
Hello. Yeah, this will be, I'll post it on here for sure so everyone can see it. So fantastic. I love this topic clearly because my focus in the world is to help people with human connections. And in businesses, this is a way to do it. You got to understand who you're talking to and what they need. And so Jonathan is doing it in the best way here in the Middle East. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for your time being here and sharing all your expertise. I love your tips, and we look forward to your event on the 21st. So thanks so much for making a great impression. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.